If you've spent more than 5 minutes inside the Jujutsu Kaisen community, you've probably seen this image. Kashimo is a fraud, the strongest farmer in history. He landed one hit and died. Some people genuinely think Kashimo is one of Gege's biggest disappointments. Others still believe he was one of the coolest characters introduced during the Culling Games. So, why does Kashimo get so much slander? Before we can answer that question, we first have to understand who Hajime Kashimo actually was. Kashimo wasn't another modern sorcerer. He wasn't even from Gojo's era. He was a sorcerer from over 400 years ago who willingly became a cursed object just for one reason: he wanted to fight the strongest. During his lifetime, Kashimo never found an opponent capable of satisfying him. Every battle ended the same way, with him always winning. That constant search for someone stronger became the core of his character. When Kenjaku revived ancient sorcerers for the Culling Games, Kashimo accepted immediately because he knew Sukuna had returned. Everything he did after that was simply leading toward one fight. Kashimo's first real appearance immediately established him as a monster. Before Yuji or Megumi ever encountered him, players were already terrified of entering his colony. He had accumulated nearly 200 points, almost entirely through killing other sorcerers. His cursed energy possessed a unique electrical property that made every physical attack dangerous. Instead of relying on an inherited curse technique like most characters, Kashimo fought almost entirely through cursed energy manipulation. That alone already made him different. His fighting style felt raw, violent, old-fashioned. He wasn't trying to outsmart people with complicated abilities. He simply overwhelmed them. Then came the fight everyone remembers. Hikari versus Kashimo. To this day, many fans still consider it one of the best fights in the Culling Games. It wasn't flashy because of giant domain expansions or reality-breaking techniques. It was exciting because both characters refused to die. Hikari became effectively immortal through Jackpot. Kashimo kept finding ways around that immortality. He exploded Hikari's arm, he poisoned him, he nearly blew apart his brain. He even figured out exactly how Jackpot worked after only seeing it a few times. One detail many people forget is that Kashimo actually had multiple opportunities to kill Hikari permanently. Instead, he chose not to use his one-time curse technique. Why? Because he had already decided who deserved it: Sukuna. Everything else was just preparation. That decision also became one of the biggest reasons behind Kashimo's reputation. His cursed technique, Mythical Beast Amber, could only be used once, ever. Once activated, it would eventually destroy his own body. So throughout the Culling Games, Gege constantly built anticipation. Readers kept wondering, what could possibly justify a technique that sacrifices your own life? Months passed. The hype only grew. People began imagining something capable of rivaling Gojo, or at least forcing Sukuna into an extreme fight. Then, Chapter 237 happened. Kashimo finally activated Mythical Beast Amber. His body transformed, his attacks became faster, his cursed energy evolved, and visually, it looked incredible. But the fight ended almost as quickly as it started. Sukuna analyzed him, then he adapted, and finally killed him within only a few chapters. For many readers, that wasn't enough. After months of hype, Kashimo's ultimate technique barely changed the outcome of the story. Instead of becoming Sukuna's greatest challenger, he became another stepping stone, and that's where most of the fraud allegations began. So, why does Kashimo get slandered? Honestly, I don't think it's because Kashimo is weak. It's because expectations became impossible to satisfy. The community spent nearly a year hyping him up. People convinced themselves that the man who saved his cursed technique for 400 years was about to push Sukuna to his limits. When that didn't happen, the disappointment turned into memes. Farmer jokes, the fraud edits, the one-hit wonder comments. They weren't really about Kashimo himself, they were about expectations crashing into reality. But was he actually a fraud? Personally, I don't think so. Kashimo was never written to defeat Sukuna. He was written to answer one question: what happens when someone spends their entire life chasing strength? The answer wasn't victory, it was understanding. During his final moments, Sukuna actually acknowledged him, not as an equal, but as someone who genuinely understood loneliness at the top. For someone whose only goal had been finding the strongest, that was probably the closest thing to fulfillment he could have received. So in the end, Kashimo might not have lived up to the expectations fans created for him, but that doesn't erase everything he brought to the story. He introduced one of the most unique fighting styles in Jujutsu Kaisen. He gave us one of the best Culling Games fights. He represented an older generation of sorcerers that relied almost entirely on skill instead of broken techniques. And even if his ending was anticlimactic, I don't think that makes him a fraud, it just makes him one of the biggest victims of his own hype. So the next time you see someone call Kashimo the strongest farmer in history, just remember, sometimes the memes become bigger than the character they're making fun of.